Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. It was nearly 1 year ago today that I did this video in which I showed off 100 cards that I could buy for $100,000. The background of that video, if you're not familiar, is at the time I was seeing, and they still show up today, these videos on YouTube where, hey, I spent $10,000 at such and such card show, or I spent $20,000 on, these vintage cards or modern cards, you name it. And of course, I'm on a limited hobby budget. So I sort of dreamed a little bit and said, man, what cards could I buy if I had $100,000 to spend on vintage baseball cards? And so I put a list together of 100 cards, and I figured that was going to be it. It was just going to be a one-shot video and move on to something else. And shortly after that, and it may have been through some of the maybe comments on that video of, boy, those are cool cards, they would be great to add to your collection. I thought, well, hey, there's a lot of cards in a certain price range that I could definitely get, and I definitely want those cards. I would love to have those cards in my collection. So I took it as a goal upon myself to see how many of those 100 cards I can eventually get in my lifetime. Now, of course, the big one there is the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle, which, unless something happens to me financially, I'm never going to own that card. But there are a good number of cards that I have a reasonable chance of picking up one day. So fast forward a year later, and I have picked up 27 cards, and this video today is actually showing card number 28 that I've picked up off this 100 card list. So I'm going to be showing that off here. So let's go take a look here. All right, now before I show off card number 28, there are some cards on this 100 card list that I find more appealing than others, more attractive, I guess, in terms of the design of the card and so on. Now, granted, I put those 100 cards on that list because I would like to have those cards one day in my collection. So nothing against any of the cards on the list, but there are certain ones that, just in terms of the overall eye appeal, the beauty of the card, I like more than others. And to show you just a couple examples of that, the first one here is the 1949 Bowman Warren Spahn. Picked this up earlier this year at a Pittsburgh card show. Just love the design of this 49 Bowman, the image of Warren Spahn there, that solid red background, just a beautiful looking card. So that's one example. Another example, which I always look for an opportunity to show off, and one that I just absolutely love, is the 1950 Bowman Yogi Berra. Just everything about this card I love. The obviously the artistic rendering of a photograph. It's an odd but an interesting background. He's not in a ballpark. He's just in a field, it looks like, that's just with trees in the background. Just a very interesting image of Yogi Berra, and I just love the crouch that he's in. Just everything about this card I just absolutely love. So again, this is one of the ones that I just love that I've picked up from this list. And another one that I picked up at this year's National in Atlantic City is the 53 Bowman Color Pee Wee Reese. Just an iconic card in the hobby. I don't mind that I picked it up in a PSA 2. Really, I spent quite a lot of money even for just this PSA 2, so was happy to get it a nice copy, crease free. The corners and centering are what drive it down, but just that iconic image of Pee Wee just jumping up in the air, throwing the ball to first base, runner sliding into second, just an awesome looking card. So those are some of the examples of the cards I have on my list that I've been fortunate enough to pick up so far. Now, on to card number 28. Card number 28 features one of these players, actually, that you see here. I actually used to own his 1952 Bowman card, and that 52 Bowman card is actually one of the 100 cards on this list here, but the one I picked up is his 1951 Bowman, and it is the Warren Spahn. Picked this up in a PSA 4, just absolutely love this image. Again, that it's almost the same image as the 49 Bowman, but it's a full color artist rendition of that famous wind-up that Warren Spahn has. What got me on this card here was the near perfect centering of this card. Now, there are some obvious flaws to the card. As you can see on the right-hand side, it's a jagged edge right there, and right near the top there's a little bit of a surface crease right just on the border, doesn't extend into the color of the card, and on a certain angle you can see maybe a couple little slight little indentations on the surface, but obviously in the corners, dropped it down to a 4. Now, the white borders are not really bright, but to be honest with you, this card is 71 years old, and I actually prefer my vintage cards to have just, again, I'm not looking for a perfect looking card. I like the fact that it sort of shows some age to it. It's a 71-year-old card. So the fact that the white borders are a little grayed through just wear and tear and so on actually makes the card more appealing to me. And as you can see with that 49 Bowman there, there's a little bit of a smudge there or whatever, the different coloring of the red background. I think it gives that card some character. And just like I think the sort of grayish borders to this card do the same thing for this Warren Spahn. And if you take a look at the back, really, really sharp looking back there. I don't really see any wax stains. There's maybe a little bit of a slight discoloration down at the bottom, but my gosh, that's being really picky. Just a clean, crisp back. You can read what they say about Warren Spahn there on the back of this 51 Bowman. But yeah, I am so happy that I picked this card up. I've been looking for this one and was able to sock away a little bit of money from my budget. I always try to keep a little bit of aside in case a bigger card comes up. Now, what I normally have been doing here with these recap or progress videos is I talk about what I had allocated up to this point for those cards, what I've spent, and so on. So for these 28 cards, so this is card number 28 here, for the 28 cards that I've picked up off the 100 card list, I originally, a year ago, based on prices a year ago, I had figured that I would have to spend $4,675 for those 28 cards. And I have only spent $3,925. So I am $750 under what I thought I would have to spend to get these cards as part of my collection. Now, I have had in some cases, like the Pee Wee Reese. I think I originally had that as I wanted to get a PSA 4. Well, obviously I got a PSA 2. Saved a little bit money there. Same thing with the Yogi Berra. Now, for this 51 Bowman Warren Spawn, I originally thought I'd be able to pick up a PSA 5 copy 1 year ago for around $150. Now, my allocation back then didn't include, I didn't even think about including shipping or taxes. It was just what I would have to pay for the card prior to all that. Well, even though we've had some softening in card prices, even in some vintage card prices, I was not able to pick up a PSA 5 for $150. So I went with this PSA 4, and knowing, I took a look at the comps, and knowing how well centered this card was, and for some vintage cards, you know, centering, well-centered cards, sometimes you have to pay a premium for. Just the quality of the printing back then, and the making of the cards. You know, you get a lot of off-center cards, you know, just like this one here, the Pee Wee Reese. So my goal is to try to find a really nice centered copy, and I know that sometimes means I have to pay a little bit more. So I actually put in a max bid of just over $200 for this Warren Spawn. The VCP average for a PSA 4 is $168. So again, I really wanted this card, but fortunately for me, all in with what I won the card for, plus shipping, plus tax, all in $165. So right at the VCP average, and just really happy. I thought for sure it was going to jump right at the end, and it jumped a little bit, but not as much as I thought. And I was so happy to see that I won the card for the price that I did. So yeah, with that, let's see. I think I talked about everything that I wanted to for this Warren Spawn card. So before I end this, I mentioned the Warren Spawn is card number 28. I have already picked up or purchased, I'm waiting for it to come in the mail, card number 29. Really excited to add that card to my collection. I'm not going to give away or give a hint as to what the card is, but it's someone that I've been looking to add to my collection. I'll just leave it at that. You can try to infer maybe who that player is, maybe what the card is, but hopefully maybe next week I will be able to do another progress video showing card number 29 off. And before I go here, I know I've had some new subscribers to my channel, so if you're not familiar with this series of 100 cards for $100,000, you can check out the previous video I did showing card number 27 right here. That's all I have for you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.